T. The fluorescent lights of the D train flickered as Lena Hart realized her mistake. She'd been so exhausted after the 14-hour day at Volkov Enterprises that she'd boarded automatically, muscle memory guiding her toward a seat near the back. Her eyes had closed for just a moment, just one moment, and when they opened again, the station names scrolling past the grimy windows were all wrong. "Damn it," she whispered, gathering her worn leather bag against her chest. The few other passengers didn't look up. In New York, everyone learned early to mind their own business. Lena pushed off at the next stop, emerging onto a street corner she didn't recognize. The autumn wind cut through her thin cardigan, and she pulled it tighter, trying to orient herself. Her phone showed 11:47 p.m. The battery icon blinked at her, 4% remaining. She should call someone. But who? Her mother would only lecture her about being careless, about how Lena never thought things through, about how she was lucky to even have a job considering how scatterbrained she could be. The thought of hearing that voice made Lena's chest tighten. No. She'd figure this out herself. She always did. The walk back took 43 minutes. Lena counted each block, her sensible flats clicking against concrete that sparkled with broken glass. Her neighborhood wasn't dangerous exactly, but it wasn't safe either, especially not this late, especially not for a woman alone. By the time her building came into view, her feet ached and her fingers had gone numb from the cold. All she wanted was to collapse into bed, maybe heat up some instant ramen, and forget this entire miserable day. Then she saw the SUV. It sat outside her building like a sleek black predator, all tinted windows and chrome accents that caught the streetlights. A vehicle that cost more than 3 years of her salary, parked on a street where most people took the bus. Lena's steps slowed. Her building had 6 floors of studio apartments occupied by students, artists, and people like her, invisible workers who kept the city running. Nobody who lived here drove a car like that. The driver's door opened. Adrian Volkov stepped out, and Lena's heart stopped. Her boss. The CEO of Volkov Enterprises. The man whose coffee she fetched, whose meetings she scheduled, whose presence in any room made her hands shake and her words tangle. He was supposed to be at some gala event tonight. She'd arranged his transportation herself, confirmed his table, even picked up his custom-tailored tuxedo from the exclusive tailor on Fifth Avenue. Instead, he stood on her street in that same tuxedo, the bow tie hanging loose around his neck, his dark hair disheveled as though he'd been running his hands through it. "Where were you?" His voice cut through the night, low, sharp, vibrating with barely contained emotion. Lena froze 3 steps away from him, her bag clutched to her chest like a shield. "Mr. Volkov, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Where were you?" It wasn't a question this time. His eyes, gray like storm clouds, like steel, like winter itself, locked onto hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "I took the wrong train," Lena stammered. "My phone died, and I didn't realize until—" "Your phone has been off for 2 hours." Adrian closed the distance between them in 3 strides. Up close, she could see the tension in his jaw, the way his hands flexed at his sides as though restraining himself from reaching for her. 2 hours, Lena. Do you have any idea?" He stopped himself, visibly forcing control back into his features. Lena stared up at him, confusion warring with a flutter of something she didn't want to name. "How did you even know? How are you here?" "I called you. Multiple times. But why would you—" Lena's mind spun. "The gala. You're supposed to be at the Waldorf, the Pediatric Cancer Foundation event. I confirmed everything this morning. I left." "You left?" Her voice pitched higher. "Mr. Volkov, that's a $10,000 a plate charity dinner. You're one of the keynote speakers. The organizers must be—" "I don't care." The words fell between them like stones. Lena's mouth opened, closed. In the 3 years she'd worked for Adrian Volkov, she'd seen him negotiate billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. Fire executives who'd been with the company for decades, command rooms full of powerful men twice his age. She'd watched him be ruthless, calculating, cold. She had never seen him look afraid. But that's what she saw now in his eyes, beneath the anger and the control. Fear. "I don't understand," she whispered. Adrian's jaw worked. A muscle ticked in his cheek. When he spoke again, his voice had dropped to something quieter. More dangerous. You weren't answering. You always answer. I was on the train. You leave the office at 9:15 every night. You take the A train to 168th Street. You stop at the bodega on the corner, the one with the orange cat in the window, and you buy green tea, and sometimes those terrible instant noodles. You're in your apartment by 9:47, always. His eyes burned into hers. Tonight, you weren't. The world tilted. Lena's bag slipped from her fingers, landing on the sidewalk with a soft thump neither of them acknowledged. You've been watching me, protecting you. That's not, her voice cracked. That's the same thing as, it's not. Adrian stepped closer, and Lena's back hit the brick wall of her building. He didn't touch her, but she felt surrounded by him anyway. His heat, his scent of expensive cologne, and something darker underneath. His presence that filled every inch of space between them. I made sure you were safe, that's all. For how long? Something flickered across his face. Hesitation. Then, as though making a decision that couldn't be unmade, 7 months. The number hit her like a physical blow. 7 months. That was before she'd even started working directly for him. Back when she was just another face in the assistant pool, filing papers and answering phones for whoever needed her that day. Why? The word came out as barely a breath. Adrian's eyes searched her face, and for a moment, Lena thought he might actually answer. Thought he might explain this impossible situation. Why Manhattan's most powerful CEO was standing on her street after midnight, looking at her like she was something precious and breakable. Instead, he said, "Let me check your apartment." What? Your apartment. I need to make sure it's secure. Mr. Volkov, you can't just... I can't leave you alone until I know you're safe. His voice turned rough. Please, Lena, let me do this. There was something in the way he said her name, her actual name, not Miss Hart, like he used in the office, that made her defenses crumble. She bent to retrieve her bag, fingers clumsy as she dug for her keys. 5th floor. There's no elevator. I know. Of course he did. He knew everything, apparently. The walk up the narrow stairwell felt surreal. Lena's building was old, the kind where the stairs creaked and the walls showed water stains from decades of leaky pipes. The harsh overhead lighting made everything look worse. The peeling paint, the worn carpet, the lock on her door that stuck and required jiggling. She'd never been ashamed of where she lived. It was clean, it was hers, it was what she could afford. But having Adrian Volkov follow her up those stairs, watching as she wrestled with her temperamental lock, made her see it through different eyes. His penthouse probably had a doorman, an elevator operator, marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows with views of Central Park. This was a shoebox with a window that looked at another building. The lock sticks, Lena muttered, jiggling her key. You have to kind of... Adrian's hand covered hers. His fingers were warm, strong, steady. Together they turned the key, and the lock clicked open. Lena's apartment was exactly as she'd left it that morning. The Murphy bed folded into the wall, the small kitchenette clean, her 2-person table holding a stack of library books and her laptop. It was neat because it had to be. There wasn't enough space for clutter. Adrian stepped inside and closed the door behind him. In the tiny studio, his presence overwhelmed everything. He was too tall, too broad-shouldered, too vividly alive for this small, quiet space. Stay here. He moved through the apartment with swift efficiency, checking the single closet, the bathroom barely bigger than a phone booth, even under the bed. Looking for what, Lena couldn't imagine. Intruders? In a 5th-floor walk-up? When he finished, he stood by the window, looking out at the brick wall of the neighboring building. The tension in his shoulders hadn't eased. Mr. Volkov. Adrian. He turned to face her, and the expression on his face made her breath catch. When we're alone, I need you to call me Adrian. That's not appropriate. You're my boss. I'm aware of what I am. His voice dropped to something that vibrated through her bones. I'm also aware of what I want to be. The air between them felt electric, charged with something Lena didn't know how to name. I don't understand any of this, she whispered. Why are you here? Why do you care if I took the wrong train? I'm just your assistant. I'm nobody. Don't. The word came out harsh, almost violent. Adrian crossed the small space in 2 strides, stopping just inches from her. Don't ever say that again. But it's true. I fetch your coffee. I file your papers. You're the first thing I think about when I wake up, and the last thing I see before I sleep." His hands rose as though to touch her, then fell back to his sides, fists clenched. "You're the reason I moved my office to the 42nd floor 6 months ago, because your desk is on 42. You're why I started taking lunch at 1:15 instead of skipping it, because that's when you eat that salad you bring from home, and if I time it right, I can walk past your desk and see you smile at something on your phone." Lena's heart hammered against her ribs. You can't." "I know." Adrian's laugh was bitter, self-directed. "I know exactly how wrong this is. You think I haven't tried to stop? You think I haven't told myself 1,000 times that you're off limits, that you work for me, that I have no right to feel this way? Then why? Because 7 months ago, I saw you in a cafe." His eyes held hers, intense and unwavering. "It was a Saturday. I was supposed to be meeting a client, but they canceled last minute. I decided to walk instead of going straight home, and I passed this little place in the village. Through the window, I saw you." Lena remembered that Saturday. She'd found a cafe she couldn't really afford and ordered a single coffee, making it last for hours while she read a novel she'd checked out from the library. It had been a small luxury, a tiny rebellion against a life that felt increasingly suffocating. "You were reading," Adrian continued, his voice soft now, almost reverent. "Some paperback with a torn cover, and you smiled at something in the book, this small, private smile like you'd found a secret. I stood outside that cafe for 20 minutes watching you, and I couldn't walk away. So you followed me." Lena tried to make it sound accusatory, but it came out uncertain. "I made sure you got home safe, then I went to my office and tried to forget about you." His jaw tightened. "Monday morning, you walked into my building, started your shift in the assistant pool, and I realized the universe has a vicious sense of humor. You could have stayed away from me. I tried. For 3 months I tried. Then one of the board members made a comment about you." Adrian's eyes went cold. "He saw you bringing files to a meeting, said something crude about what he'd like to do to that sweet little thing. I had him removed from the board before the day ended." Lena's mind reeled. The scandal last spring, Thomas Whitmore. He claimed it was a hostile takeover. It was, because he looked at you like you were something he could take. Adrian's voice turned to razored edges. "After that, I stopped pretending I could keep my distance. I moved you to my floor, made you my direct assistant. At least then I could make sure you were safe." "This is insane." Lena pressed her hands to her temples. "You're describing obsession, stalking." "I'm describing the truth." Adrian's hands finally lifted to cup her face, his touch achingly gentle. "I don't expect you to understand. I don't expect you to feel the same way. But I need you to know that every moment you're out of my sight, I'm afraid something will happen to you, that someone will hurt you, that you'll disappear, and I'll never—" His voice cracked. Lena stared up at him, seeing past the controlled exterior to the raw emotion underneath. This was Adrian Volkov, a man who controlled billions, who made Wall Street titans nervous, who allegedly had connections to networks that operated in Manhattan's shadows. And he was afraid. "I don't know what to say," Lena whispered. "You don't have to say anything." Adrian's thumbs brushed across her cheekbones, the touch sending shivers down her spine. "Just let me make sure you're safe. That's all I ask." Before Lena could respond, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Both of them froze. She pulled it out, saw her mother's name on the screen. The battery showed 2%. "I should—" Lena started. "Answer it." She swiped to accept the call, lifting the phone to her ear. "Hi, Mom." "Finally." Her mother's voice cut through the line like a blade. "I've been calling you for hours. Where have you been?" "I had to work late." "You're always working late, or that's what you tell me. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here in this apartment you're supposed to be helping me pay for, and the electricity is about to be shut off. Again." Lena's chest tightened. "I sent you money last week." "That barely covered half the rent. You know I can't work with my back the way it is. The least you could do is make sure your mother has a roof over her head." A pause, heavy with practiced martyrdom. "But I guess your job is more important than family." "That's not fair. I'm doing everything I can." "Everything you can?" "You work as a secretary, Lena. You probably make what, 30,000 a year? 40? You could do better if you actually tried. If you made an effort with your appearance, maybe. Lost some weight. Men like your boss, they don't look twice at girls who dress like they shop at thrift stores. Adrian's entire body went rigid beside her. Mom, I can't talk about this right now. Of course you can't. You never can. I slave away raising you by myself, sacrifice everything, and this is the thanks I get. A daughter who can't even— I'll send you more money tomorrow, Lena interrupted, her voice flat with exhaustion. I have to go. She ended the call before her mother could respond. The silence in the apartment felt thick, suffocating. Lena couldn't look at Adrian. Shame burned through her, shame that he'd heard that he'd witnessed the pathetic reality of her life. How much? Adrian's voice was quiet, controlled in a way that somehow made it more terrifying. What? How much money do you send her every month? Lena's hands twisted together. It doesn't matter. How much, Lena? 1,800, sometimes 2,000. The words came out small. She can't work. She's using you. She's my mother. She's manipulating you. Adrian's hand caught her chin, tilting her face up to meet his eyes. Everything she just said, about your appearance, your worth, your job, all of it was designed to make you feel small, to keep you under her control. Lena tried to look away, but he held her gaze. How long has she been doing this? He asked. I don't— Lena. The tears came before she could stop them. Always. For as long as I can remember. I'm never good enough. Never smart enough. Pretty enough. Successful enough. Everything I do is wrong, or stupid, or selfish. Her voice cracked. And maybe she's right. Maybe if I tried harder— Stop. Adrian pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her with fierce protectiveness. Listen to me very carefully. Nothing she said is true. Not one word. You don't know that. I know that you're brilliant. I know you remember every detail of every meeting, anticipate needs before they're spoken, handle crisis after crisis without breaking stride. His hand stroked through her hair. I know you're beautiful. So beautiful, it physically hurts to look at you sometimes. I know you're kind, even when people don't deserve it. Even when your mother certainly doesn't deserve it. Lena sobbed against his shirt, years of pain and doubt spilling out. She's breaking you, Adrian murmured into her hair. Piece by piece, she's taking everything good and bright about you and convincing you it's worthless. And I can't— His arms tightened. I can't stand here and watch it happen anymore. What am I supposed to do? Lena's words muffled against his chest. She's my mother. She's alone. She needs me. She needs your money. There's a difference. Adrian pulled back just enough to look at her. And you need to be free of her. I can't just move in with me. The words hung in the air between them. Lena's mind went blank. What? Move into my penthouse. Let me take care of you. Adrian's eyes burned with intensity. No more sending money to a woman who treats you like garbage. No more living in this— He gestured at the tiny apartment. No more struggling to survive while she bleeds you dry. I can't do that. That's insane. Why? Because you're my boss, because I barely know you, because this whole thing is completely inappropriate and probably illegal, and because you're afraid. Adrian's voice gentled. You're afraid that if you accept help, you'll owe me something, that I'll turn out to be just like her, someone who uses your gratitude as a leash. Lena's breath hitched because he was right, exactly right. I'm not her, Adrian said quietly. I'm not going to hurt you, Lena. I'm not going to make you feel small or worthless or invisible. I'm going to give you space to breathe, to figure out who you are when you're not drowning under someone else's demands. And what do you get out of this? Lena challenged, wiping at her tears. What's in it for you? Peace. The answer came immediately. Knowing you're safe, knowing you're eating more than instant noodles and gas station salads, knowing that if something happens, I'm close enough to help. This is crazy. Probably. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. But I stopped pretending to be sane about you months ago. Lena's phone buzzed again. Another call from her mother. The battery died before she could answer, the screen going black. Adrian watched her stare at the dead phone, then said, 1 week. That's all I'm asking. Move in for 1 week. If you hate it, If you want to leave, I'll help you find a better apartment. I'll never mention it again. And my job? Nothing changes at the office. You're still my assistant. I'm still your boss. His thumb brushed away a tear from her cheek. This is separate. This is about making sure you have a safe place to be when you're not working. It was insane. Reckless. Every logical part of Lena's brain screamed at her to refuse. But standing in her tiny apartment, looking up at a man who had just upended everything she thought she knew about her life, Lena felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. 1 week, she heard herself say. Just a trial. Adrian's expression transformed. Relief, triumph, and something fiercer flooded his features. 1 week. But we need rules, Lena added quickly. Boundaries. This can't be... I'm not... Whatever you need. Adrian's hands framed her face again. Whatever makes you feel safe, will do. Separate bedrooms. Of course. No one at the office can know. Agreed. And if I want to leave, you won't try to stop me. Something painful flashed through his eyes, but he nodded. If you want to leave, I'll drive you wherever you want to go myself. Lena took a shaky breath. Okay, I'll try it. Adrian's smile was like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Pack a bag. I'll wait. Now? You want me to move in right now? Unless you want to stay here tonight. His eyes went to her phone, dark with understanding. Knowing your mother will show up first thing in the morning, demanding to know why you didn't answer. He was right. Of course he was right. Her mother had a key, a fact that had led to more than one unwelcome early morning visit. Lena moved to her closet, pulling out a duffel bag she'd bought at a thrift store years ago. She packed mechanically, clothes, toiletries, her laptop, the library books, a week's worth of life folded into cheap canvas. When she finished, Adrian took the bag from her without a word. At the door, Lena turned back to look at her apartment one last time. It wasn't much, but it had been hers. The first place she'd lived alone after finally escaping her mother's house at 23. Now she was walking away from it, following a man who'd confessed to watching her for months, whose presence made her heart race and her logic scatter. This was either the bravest or stupidest thing she'd ever done. Possibly both. Adrian's hand found the small of her back as they descended the stairs. The touch felt possessive, protective, permanent. Outside, the SUV waited like a promise of everything her life had never been. Adrian held the door open for her. Lena slid onto leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The interior smelled like luxury, subtle cologne and expensive materials and possibility. As they pulled away from her building, Lena watched her neighborhood disappear in the side mirror. She didn't know what waited for her in Adrian Volkov's penthouse, but she knew with certainty that scared and thrilled her in equal measure that her life would never be the same. The woman who had been invisible was finally being seen, and the man who saw her looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. The elevator to Adrian's penthouse didn't have buttons. Lena stared at the smooth panel where numbers should be, her reflection ghosting back at her in the polished bronze. She looked small, disheveled, out of place in her rumpled work clothes and scuffed flats. Biometric security, Adrian explained, his hand warm against her lower back as he guided her inside. It recognizes authorized residents. And I'm authorized? As of 7 minutes ago, yes. He'd made a call during the drive, rapid-fire instructions to someone named Marcus about security clearances and access codes. Your fingerprint, retinal scan, and voice pattern are all registered now. The elevator began its silent ascent. Lena watched the floor numbers climb, past 20, past 40, past 60. Her ears popped. How high up are we going? 83rd floor. Adrian's voice held a note of amusement. The top 3 floors are the penthouse. 3 floors. His apartment was 3 floors. Lena's entire building could probably fit inside it. The doors whispered open onto a private foyer that looked like something from a magazine spread. White marble floors, a console table that was definitely an antique, abstract art that Lena suspected was worth more than she'd earned in her lifetime. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of Manhattan that made her breath catch. The city spread out like a glittering carpet, alive and endless. This way. Adrian's hand never left her back as he led her through the foyer into the main living space. The penthouse was beautiful in a way that felt almost hostile. Everything was clean lines and expensive materials, Leather furniture in shades of cream and gray, more abstract art, a kitchen that looked like it had never been used. The windows wrapped around two sides of the space, offering views that made Lena feel like she was floating above the city. It was stunning. It was also completely impersonal, like a hotel suite designed by someone who'd never actually lived in a home. "Your room is upstairs," Adrian said, watching her take it all in. "I had my housekeeper prepare it this evening." Lena turned to stare at him. "You knew I'd say yes." "I hoped." His expression remained carefully neutral. "And if you'd refused, I would have donated the furniture to charity and converted it back to a gym." He led her up a floating staircase to the second level. The hallway held 4 doors, all closed except one at the far end. Adrian pushed it open, and Lena stepped into a bedroom that was larger than her entire apartment. The bed was enormous, covered in white linens that looked cloud-soft. More windows offered yet another angle of the city view. There was a sitting area with a love seat and bookshelf, a desk with a new laptop already set up, a walk-in closet that echoed when she peered inside. "The bathroom is through there," Adrian gestured to another door. "Marcus will bring up your things from the car. If you need anything, clothes, toiletries, anything at all, just tell me." Lena turned in a slow circle, trying to process the surreal shift her life had taken in the span of 2 hours. "Where's your room?" "Third floor, completely separate." Adrian maintained careful distance, as though afraid touching her again might shatter whatever fragile agreement they'd reached. "You have total privacy here. I won't come in unless you ask me to." "This is insane," Lena whispered, more to herself than to him. "Probably." A ghost of that smile again. "Get some rest. We can talk more in the morning." He moved toward the door, and Lena heard herself say, "Adrian?" He stopped, his hand on the doorframe. The sound of his name in her voice seemed to affect him physically. His shoulders tensed, his fingers tightened against the wood. "Thank you," Lena said quietly. "For tonight, for all of this." Adrian's eyes found hers, and the intensity there made her pulse skip. "Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen what happens when your mother realizes you're gone." The word sent a chill through her, but before Lena could respond, he was gone, the door clicking softly shut behind him. Alone in the enormous bedroom, Lena sat on the edge of the bed and tried to catch her breath. Her duffel bag appeared minutes later, delivered by a man who introduced himself as Marcus, Adrian's driver and head of security, apparently. And then she was alone again. She should unpack, shower, sleep. Instead, she walked to the windows and looked out at Manhattan glittering below her. Somewhere down there was her apartment, her neighborhood, her old life. It felt like looking at a different planet. Her phone was still dead. She'd need to charge it eventually, but for now, the silence felt like a gift. No calls from her mother. No demands. No guilt. No carefully constructed accusations designed to make Lena feel like she was perpetually failing. Just quiet. Just space to breathe. Lena pressed her forehead against the cool glass and let herself cry. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of it all. Sleep didn't come easily. The bed was too comfortable, the room too quiet, everything too different. Lena lay awake watching the city lights, her mind replaying every moment of the night. Adrian's face when he'd asked where she'd been. The way he'd touched her so carefully, like she might break. His confession about watching her, protecting her, thinking about her constantly. It should terrify her. It probably would terrify her once the shock wore off. But lying in this beautiful room, wrapped in sheets that probably cost more than her monthly salary, Lena felt something she'd almost forgotten. Safe. Morning came too soon and not soon enough. Sunlight streamed through the windows, painting the room in shades of gold. Lena's phone was charging on the nightstand. Marcus must have brought a charger while she slept, and the screen showed 47 missed calls, 43 from her mother, 4 from a number Lena didn't recognize. Her stomach clenched. She knew she couldn't avoid this forever, but the thought of listening to those voicemails made her feel physically ill. A soft knock on the door made her jump. "Come in," Lena called, pulling the borrowed robe tighter. Adrian entered carrying a tray. He'd changed from last night's tuxedo into dark jeans and a charcoal sweater that made his eyes look like smoke. His hair was still damp from a shower. "I wasn't sure what you liked," he said, setting the tray on the desk. "So I made options." The tray held coffee, tea, orange juice, toast, fruit, yogurt, and what looked like a spinach omelet. Enough food for 3 people. You made this? Lena couldn't keep the surprise from her voice. I'm not completely helpless in a kitchen. Adrian's mouth quirked. Though admittedly I don't cook often. The housekeeper usually handles meals. Lena moved to the desk, the smell of coffee pulling her forward. She poured a cup, added cream the way she liked it, and took a sip. Perfect. You remembered how I take my coffee. I've watched you make it every morning for 3 years. Adrian's voice went soft. Of course I remember. They stood in awkward silence for a moment, neither quite sure how to navigate this new dynamic. At the office, their roles were clear. Here, in the intimate space of morning and breakfast and rumpled sleep, everything felt uncertain. Your mother called, Adrian said finally. Lena's hand tightened on the coffee cup. I know, I saw. She also showed up at your building at 6 this morning. His expression darkened. Marcus called to inform me. She has a key, as you mentioned. When you didn't answer, she let herself in. Horror flooded through Lena. She knows I'm gone. She knows you're not there. She doesn't know where you are. Adrian's voice turned hard. Marcus made sure of it. Your building's security cameras have blind spots that were very convenient for loading your belongings last night. My belongings? Lena's voice pitched higher. What do you mean, my belongings? Everything in your apartment is now in the storage room on the 3rd floor. Furniture, books, clothes, everything. Adrian met her shocked stare calmly. I wasn't going to leave your possessions for your mother to ransack when she realized you weren't coming back. You moved my entire apartment without asking me? Would you have said yes? That's not the point. The point, Adrian said, his voice dropping to something dangerous and protective, is that woman has taken enough from you. She's not taking anything else. Lena's hand shook. She set down the coffee before she spilled it. You can't just make these decisions for me. You can't just... You're right. Adrian moved closer, and Lena's words died in her throat. I should have asked. I should have waited. But I watched the security footage of her letting herself into your apartment, and I saw her face, Lena. She wasn't worried about you. She was furious that you weren't there to answer her calls. His jaw tightened. I won't apologize for making sure she can't hurt you anymore. The words hung between them, charged with an intensity that made the air feel thin. Lena's phone buzzed. Another call from her mother. Without thinking, she reached for it. Adrian's hand caught her wrist, not hard, but firm enough to stop her. Don't. I have to answer eventually. Not today. His thumb stroked across her pulse point, a touch so gentle it made her shiver. Today, you take a breath. You eat breakfast. You let yourself exist without her voice in your head telling you you're not enough. Lena looked down at their joined hands, his fingers dark against her pale skin. What am I supposed to say to her when I do answer? Whatever you want. Adrian's free hand lifted to cup her face, tilting it up to meet his eyes. But you don't have to say it alone. I'll be right there with you. The promise in his voice made something crack open in Lena's chest. When was the last time someone had offered to stand beside her? To be present for the hard conversations instead of leaving her to face them alone? She couldn't remember, maybe never. I should call work, Lena said, her voice unsteady. Tell them I'm sick or something. Already handled. I told my secretary you were taking a personal day. Adrian's mouth curved slightly. She asked if everything was all right. I told her it was better than all right. Adrian, people will talk if... Let them talk. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I stopped caring what people thought about my personal life years ago. But I care. I can't afford to lose this job. You're not going to lose anything. Adrian's voice turned fierce. You're one of the best assistants the company has ever had. Your performance reviews are flawless. If anyone tries to suggest otherwise, they'll answer to me. Lena pulled away, needing space to think. She walked to the windows, wrapping her arms around herself. The city looked different in daylight, less magical, more real. This can't last. You know that, right? This whole arrangement. Eventually, reality is going to come crashing down. Why? Because it's not normal. Because you're you and I'm me, and there's about 1,000 reasons why this is a terrible idea. She turned to face him, frustration and fear warring in her chest. You're a billionaire. I'm nobody. You could have anyone you wanted. I want you. Adrian crossed the room with predatory grace, stopping just close enough that she felt the heat of him. I've wanted you since I saw you in that cafe. I've wanted you through every meeting, every day, every moment you've been close enough to touch, but too far away to reach. That's not want, Lena whispered. That's obsession. Maybe. He didn't deny it, didn't try to make it sound prettier than it was. But it's also the first honest thing I've felt in years. Before you, everything was transactions and power plays and calculated moves. You made me feel human again. I didn't do anything. You existed. Adrian's hand lifted to her hair, fingers tangling gently in the strands. You were kind when you didn't have to be. You smiled at terrible jokes from the intern. You stayed late to help people even when it wasn't your job. You were real in a world full of people pretending. His eyes burned into hers. Do you have any idea how rare that is? Lena's breath came short. You don't really know me. You just think you do. Then let me know you. Adrian's other hand found her waist, pulling her incrementally closer. Stay here. Give me time to prove this isn't just obsession or possession or whatever you're afraid it is. And what happens when you get bored? When the reality of me doesn't live up to whatever fantasy you've built? That's not going to happen. You don't know that. I know that I've watched you for 7 months, Lena. I've seen you tired and frustrated and angry. I've seen you cry in the bathroom because your mother called during lunch. I've seen you eat the same sad salad 5 days in a row because you sent your grocery money to her instead. His voice cracked slightly. I've seen the real you, the exhausted, struggling, beautiful real you, and I want every single piece of it. Lena's eyes burned with unshed tears. This is too much. It's too fast, too intense. I know. Adrian's forehead dropped to rest against hers. But I can't slow down. I've been holding back for months, pretending I didn't feel this way, and I'm done pretending. What if I need you to slow down? The question came out small, vulnerable. Adrian pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. Then I will. I'll give you all the time and space you need, but I'm not walking away. I'm not letting you go back to that apartment where your mother has a key, where you eat instant noodles and work yourself to exhaustion trying to meet demands that will never be satisfied. His hands framed her face. I'm not letting you be invisible anymore. A sob caught in Lena's throat. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be the person you think I am. You already are that person. Adrian's thumbs brushed away tears she hadn't realized were falling. You just need time to see it yourself. Lena's phone erupted with sound, a string of rapid-fire calls that made them both flinch. Her mother, relentless. Adrian's expression went dark. Answer it. What? Answer the phone. Put it on speaker. His eyes met hers, steady and certain. You don't have to face her alone anymore. Lena's hand shook as she retrieved the phone from the nightstand. Her finger hovered over the accept button. I'm right here, Adrian murmured behind her, his hand settling on her shoulders. Whatever she says, I'm right here. Lena tapped the button. Hello, Mom. Finally, her mother's voice cut through the room like a whip. Do you have any idea how worried I've been? I've been calling you for hours. I saw. You saw? You saw and didn't answer? The martyrdom ratcheted up. I went to your apartment this morning, Lena. You weren't there. Your things are gone. What's going on? Are you in some kind of trouble? Lena felt Adrian's hands tighten on her shoulders, grounding her. I'm fine. You're clearly not fine if you've disappeared without telling your own mother where you are. I'm calling the police. Don't! The word came out harder than Lena intended. I moved out. That's all. Silence. Then, you what? I moved. I found a new place. Without discussing it with me? Without even mentioning... Her mother's voice shifted, taking on that wounded quality that always made Lena's guilt surge. I'm your mother. I have a right to know where you're living. No, you don't. More silence. Adrian's thumb traced circles on Lena's shoulder blade, a silent reminder of his presence. Excuse me? Her mother's voice went cold. What did you just say to me? I said you don't have a right to know. Lena's heart pounded so hard she felt dizzy. I'm 26 years old. I don't owe you a report on my living situation. After everything I've done for you, raising you alone, sacrificing my own life so you could have opportunities, this is the thanks I get? You disappear in the middle of the night like some kind of criminal? I'm not a criminal for moving apartments. You're acting like one, sneaking around, hiding things from me. Her mother's voice turned calculating. Is this about money? Are you trying to avoid helping me because you're selfish? I'm not selfish. The words came out stronger now. Adrian's presence behind her felt like a wall she could lean against. I've given you almost every penny I've earned for 3 years. I've gone without so you could have. And it's never enough. How dare you? It's true. Lena's voice didn't shake. Nothing I do is ever enough. I could give you everything, and you'd still find something to criticize. That's because you're wasting your potential. You're working a dead-end job as a secretary when you could be doing so much more if you just tried. I like my job. You like being someone's servant, fetching coffee and filing papers? Her mother laughed, bitter and cutting. You're pathetic, Lena. Just like your father was pathetic, settling for mediocrity instead of fighting for something better. Adrian's hands tightened almost painfully on Lena's shoulders. When he spoke, his voice was soft but lethal. Who are you speaking to? Her mother went silent. Who is that? My name is Adrian Volkov. His tone could have frozen fire. I'm Lena's employer, and I'm going to give you one chance to apologize for what you just said to her. Her employer? Her mother's voice sharpened. What's her employer doing in her apartment at... What time is it there? Are you sleeping with my daughter? Where Lena lives and who she spends time with is none of your concern. I'm her mother. Everything about her is my concern. No, Adrian said calmly. It isn't. Lena is an adult who makes her own choices, and she's chosen to establish boundaries with you. Boundaries? Her mother's laugh was vicious. Is that what she's calling it? Abandoning her own mother after everything I've done? You've done nothing, Adrian said, his voice dropping to something dark and dangerous. Except tear down an extraordinary woman and convince her she's worthless. That ends now. How dare you speak to me this way? You don't know anything about our relationship. I know that you call her stupid. I know you criticize her appearance, her choices, her job. I know you take her money and give nothing back except guilt and abuse. Each word fell like a hammer. I know that you've spent 26 years making sure Lena believed she wasn't good enough. And I'm here to tell you that you're done. You can't keep my daughter from me. I'm not keeping anyone from anyone. Lena is free to have whatever relationship with you she chooses. Adrian's hand slid down to Lena's arms, a touch that felt protective and possessive. But she's also free to choose no relationship at all. Lena stared at the phone, her mother's breathing harsh and rapid on the other end. Lena, her mother said, her voice shifting to that wheedling tone that had always worked before. Baby, you don't really want this. You're confused, or he's manipulating you. He's not manipulating me, Lena said quietly. He's the first person who's ever told me the truth about you. The truth? What truth? That you're never going to change. That nothing I do will ever be enough. Lena felt tears streaming down her face, but her voice remained steady. That I deserve better than being made to feel worthless every single day. I never made you feel worthless. I pushed you to be better. You made me hate myself. The words came out raw, honest. Every time you called, I felt sick. Every time you needed money, I went without food. Every time you criticized me, I believed you. Lena's voice broke. I built my entire life around trying to make you happy, and I finally realized that's impossible. So that's it? Her mother's voice turned vicious. You're choosing some man you barely know over your own mother? I'm choosing myself, Lena said. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. Then you're making a mistake. And when this all falls apart, when he gets tired of you and throws you away like the nothing you are, don't come crying to me. The words should have hurt. A week ago, they would have destroyed her. But with Adrian's hands on her arms, his presence solid and real behind her, Lena felt something shift inside her chest. Goodbye, Mom. She ended the call before her mother could respond. The silence that followed felt enormous. Lena's entire body shook, adrenaline and fear and grief coursing through her. She'd just cut ties with her mother, actually done it, said the words she'd been too afraid to even think for years. Lena. Adrian turned her to face him, his hands cupping her face. Breathe. I can't. Did I really? You were amazing. Adrian's eyes shone with something fierce and proud. You are so fucking strong. I'm not strong, I'm terrified. Lena's hands fisted in his sweater, holding on like he was the only solid thing in a world that had just tilted on its axis. What if she's right? What if I am making a mistake? You're not. You don't know that. I know that you just stood up to someone who has been tearing you down your entire life. I know that you chose yourself instead of accepting abuse. Adrian's forehead pressed against hers. That's not a mistake. That's the bravest thing you could have done. Lena sobbed against his chest, and Adrian held her through it, his hands stroking her hair, his voice murmuring reassurances she couldn't quite hear over her own crying. When the tears finally subsided, she pulled back enough to look at him. What happens now? Now? Adrian's thumb brushed across her wet cheek. Now you eat breakfast. You take a shower. You spend the day doing whatever makes you feel good. His eyes held hers. And you let yourself believe that you deserve all of it. I don't know how to do that. Then I'll teach you. Adrian's smile was small but genuine. I'm a very patient teacher. Lena laughed, the sound watery but real. You're also completely insane. Maybe. Adrian pressed a kiss to her forehead, the touch achingly gentle. But I'm your insane now, whether you like it or not. The possessiveness in his words should have frightened her. Instead, it felt like safety, like someone had finally built a wall between her and all the things that had been hurting her for years. For the first time in as long as she could remember, Lena let herself lean into that safety. Let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved it. The days that followed blurred together in a way that felt both surreal and inevitable. Lena woke each morning in the enormous bedroom with its impossible views, and each morning she half expected to find it had all been a dream. But then Adrian would appear with breakfast, sometimes elaborate, sometimes simple, always made with his own hands because he seemed to need the ritual of caring for her, and the reality would settle over her again. She was living in a penthouse with a man who looked at her like she hung the moon. Work became a strange dance of pretending. At the office, they maintained perfect professional distance. Adrian was Mr. Volkov, she was Miss Hart, and nobody seemed to notice the electricity that crackled between them every time their hands brushed over a document or their eyes met across the conference room. But the moment they stepped into the private elevator at the end of each day, everything shifted. Adrian's hand would find the small of her back. His voice would drop to that rough, intimate register he used only with her. And Lena would feel herself transforming from invisible assistant back into someone seen, wanted, protected. It was intoxicating. It was also terrifying. You're thinking too loud, Adrian murmured one evening. They sat on the penthouse terrace, a space Lena hadn't even known existed until the third day, when Adrian had led her outside to find a garden oasis 83 floors above the city. I can practically hear the doubt circling. Lena looked up from the book she'd been pretending to read. Adrian lounged across from her, his laptop balanced on his knees, glasses perched on his nose in a way that made him look younger, less intimidating, more human. I'm not doubting, she said. Liar. But his smile was gentle. What is it this time? That I'm going to wake up and realize you're not worth the trouble? That your mother was right about you? That this is all some elaborate game? Lena's silence was answer enough. Adrian set his laptop aside and crossed to her chair, pulling her up and into his arms with easy strength. Come here. Adrian, humor me. He settled onto the lounge chair and arranged her across his lap, ignoring her weak protests. His arms wrapped around her, secure and warm. Now talk. Lena breathed in his scent, expensive cologne and something uniquely him that made her feel safe. It's been a week. 6 days, actually. And nothing's gone wrong. Is that a problem? Adrian's hand stroked through her hair, the touch soothing. It feels like it should be. Lena's fingers twisted in the fabric of his shirt. My whole life, the other shoe always drops. Things go well for a moment, and then they fall apart. I keep waiting for that to happen here. What if it doesn't? Then I don't know what to do with that. She looked up at him, vulnerability raw in her voice. I don't know how to exist in a world where good things just stay good. Adrian's eyes softened. Then we'll figure it out together. One day at a time. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. You're just not used to simple. His thumb traced her cheekbone. You're used to chaos and crisis and constantly proving your worth. But you don't have to do that here. You just have to exist. Just exist, Lena repeated, testing the words. They felt foreign. Just exist, Adrian confirmed. Wake up, eat breakfast, go to work, come home. Let me take care of you. Let yourself be happy. And what do you get out of this arrangement? The question had been circling in Lena's mind for days. You keep giving, and I don't understand what I'm supposed to give back. Adrian's expression turned intense. You really don't see it, do you? See what? What you give me every single day. He shifted her in his lap so they were face to face. You smile at terrible jokes. You hum while you're working. You get excited about new books and good coffee and the cat that lives in the bodega. His hands framed her face. You make me remember what it's like to care about things that aren't business or money or power. You make me feel human again. That's not... It is! Adrian's voice went fierce. Before you, I was going through motions, building empires because that's what I do, not because I cared about any of it. And then I saw you in that cafe, completely absorbed in a world that existed only in your head, and I wanted that. I wanted to matter to someone the way that story mattered to you. Lena's breath caught. Adrian, I'm not finished. His thumbs brushed across her lips, silencing her. You've given me 7 months of watching you be kind when people don't deserve it. Strong when you don't think you are. Brave in small, quiet ways that most people never notice. And now you've given me this? You, here, trusting me enough to stay even when you're terrified. I'm not brave, Lena whispered. You're the bravest person I know. Adrian's forehead pressed against hers. And someday, you'll believe that. Before Lena could respond, his phone buzzed with an insistent rhythm that made his jaw tighten. He glanced at the screen and something dark flickered across his face. What is it? Marcus. Adrian's voice went flat. Your mother is in the lobby. Lena's entire body went rigid. What? She's demanding to see you, claiming you're being held against your will. Adrian's arms tightened around her. Security has her contained, but she's making a scene. Horror and anger warred in Lena's chest. How did she even know I was here? She didn't. She's been showing up at buildings across Manhattan for the past 3 days, demanding to see you. Adrian's eyes met hers, serious and steady. Marcus has been tracking her movements. She hit the Carlyle yesterday, the plaza this morning. I think she's working through every luxury building in the city. Looking for me. Looking for whoever she thinks you're with. Adrian's hand stroked down her spine. She probably assumes you're staying with a man. She's trying to find him. Lena felt sick. She won't stop. You don't know her. She'll keep coming, keep making scenes. Then we end it tonight. Adrian's voice turned to steel. We go down there, and you tell her exactly what you need to tell her, with me standing right beside you. Adrian, she'll say terrible things. Let her. His eyes burned into hers. Let her say every vicious thing she's been storing up. Because this time, you're not alone. This time, she doesn't get to make you feel small. Lena's hands shook. The thought of facing her mother again, of enduring those cutting words and manipulative tears, made her want to hide in this penthouse forever. But Adrian was right. Running wouldn't make it stop. Her mother would keep searching, keep showing up, keep trying to drag Lena back into that suffocating dynamic. Okay, Lena heard herself say. Okay, let's do it. Adrian pressed a kiss to her forehead. That's my girl. The elevator ride down felt like descending into battle. Adrian's hand never left hers, his thumb tracing circles on her palm that she suspected were meant to be soothing, but only reminded her how fast her heart was beating. The lobby of Adrian's building was stunning, all marble and modern art and lighting that cost more than cars. And in the center of it, surrounded by 3 security guards trying to maintain professional distance, stood Lena's mother. She looked exactly as Lena remembered, thin to the point of frailty, dressed in clothes that screamed expensive but were actually knockoffs, her makeup applied with the heavy hand of someone trying to hide age and bitterness. When she saw Lena step off the elevator, her face transformed. There you are. Her mother's voice carried across the lobby, designed to draw attention. Thank goodness. I've been so worried. Don't. Lena's voice came out stronger than she felt. Don't pretend you were worried. Her mother's eyes narrowed, then shifted to Adrian. Recognition flickered across her face. She'd clearly researched after their phone call, figured out exactly who Lena's employer was. Mr. Volkov, her mother's voice turned syrupy. I apologize for the intrusion. I'm sure you understand a mother's concern for her daughter. I understand manipulation. Adrian's tone could have cut glass. And I understand when I'm watching someone try to use guilt as a weapon. Her mother's expression hardened. This doesn't concern you. It concerns me deeply. Adrian's hand settled on Lena's lower back, possessive and protective. Because anything that affects Lena affects me. How noble! Her mother's laugh was bitter. Tell me, Mr. Volkov, what exactly are your intentions with my daughter? Are you planning to marry her, or is she just another toy for a man who has everything? Mom, no, Lena. I think it's a fair question. Her mother's eyes stayed locked on Adrian. You've convinced her to move in with you, to cut off her own mother, to throw away her values. The only thing I've convinced Lena to do, Adrian interrupted, his voice dangerously soft, is value herself. Something you've spent 26 years preventing. You don't know anything about our relationship. I know enough. Adrian stepped forward, and even the security guards tensed at the predatory grace in his movement. I know you've been bleeding her dry financially while convincing her she's selfish for wanting to keep enough money to eat. I know you criticize everything about her, her appearance, her job, her choices, while taking credit for any success she achieves. I know you've made her believe she's worthless unless she's sacrificing herself for you. Her mother's face flushed. How dare you? I'm not finished. Adrian's voice dropped to something lethal. I also know that you showed up at her apartment with your new husband, a man I had investigated, by the way, who has 2 domestic violence charges and a restraining order from his ex-wife. You brought that man to Lena's home, demanding access to her. Do you want to explain what you were planning? Lena's blood ran cold. What? Your mother's husband, Adrian said, not taking his eyes off the woman in question, has a history of violence against women, against partners who refuse to comply with financial demands. Her mother's face went white, then red. Those charges were dropped because the women were too afraid to testify. Adrian's hand tightened on Lena's back. But the pattern is clear. You marry men who help you control the people around you, usually through intimidation. You're insane, her mother spat. Lena, are you hearing this? He's completely paranoid. He had you investigated, Lena said quietly. The pieces were clicking into place with horrifying clarity. Because you brought a dangerous man to my apartment. He's not dangerous. He's my husband. He put his last wife in the hospital. Adrian's voice turned glacial. The report is public record. She had 3 broken ribs and a fractured jaw. He claimed she fell down the stairs. Lena's mother opened her mouth, closed it. For the first time in Lena's life, she watched her mother scramble for words. This is ridiculous, her mother finally said, her voice shaking. You've turned my own daughter against me with lies. Everything I just said can be verified. Adrian pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and showed it to Lena's mother. Police reports, hospital records, witness statements, all filed under the name Raymond Mitchell, your current husband. The silence that followed felt explosive. Lena stared at her mother, seeing the woman with new eyes. You knew. You knew what he was, and you brought him to my apartment anyway. Lena, sweetheart, it's not what you think. What was the plan? Lena's voice rose, anger finally breaking through years of trained submission. Were you going to have him intimidate me, threaten me, force me to keep giving you money? Don't be dramatic. Answer the question. Adrian's voice cut through the lobby like a blade. Were you planning to use your husband to physically threaten Lena? Her mother's face twisted with something ugly. I wouldn't have to threaten her if she just did what she was supposed to do. I'm her mother. She owes me. She owes you nothing. Adrian stepped between Lena and her mother, a wall of controlled fury. And you're never getting near her again. You can't keep me from my own daughter. Actually, I can. Adrian's smile was cold. Building security has your photo. You're banned from the premises. If you attempt to enter again, you'll be arrested for trespassing. Lena! Her mother tried to look around Adrian, her voice taking on that wheedling tone. Baby, please, you can't let him do this. I can. Lena's voice shook, but she forced the words out. I'm done, Mom. Completely done. You don't mean that. I do. Lena stepped out from behind Adrian, needing to say this while looking her mother in the eye. You've spent my entire life making me feel worthless, so I'd keep trying to earn your approval. You've taken my money, my time, my self-respect. And you brought a violent man to my home because you thought you could scare me into compliance. That's not... I would never... Yes, you would. Lena felt tears streaming down her face, but her voice remained steady. Because I'm not a daughter to you. I'm a resource. Something to be used until there's nothing left. How can you say that? Her mother's voice broke with practiced devastation. After everything I've done for you, you've done nothing for me. The words felt like breaking chains. You've only ever done things to me. Made me small so you could feel big. Made me weak so you could feel strong. Made me believe I was broken so I'd keep coming back to you for validation. Lena, please, no. Lena's hands clenched into fists. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not taking your calls. I'm not sending you money. I'm not letting you treat me like I'm worthless. Her voice rose. I'm done being your victim. Her mother's face transformed, the mask of concern falling away to reveal pure venom. You ungrateful little bitch. After everything I sacrificed, you sacrificed nothing. Adrian's voice cut her off. You had a child and decided that child owed you eternal servitude. That's not sacrifice, that's narcissism. Don't you dare psychoanalyze me. Then stop acting like a textbook case. Adrian's eyes went hard. You're done here. Security will escort you out. I'm not leaving until my daughter comes to her senses. You're leaving now. Adrian gestured to the security guards. Escort Mrs. Mitchell from the building. If she returns, call the police. You can't do this. Her mother's voice pitched to a shriek as the guards moved toward her. Lena, please, I'm your mother. You're a stranger, Lena whispered. You've always been a stranger. The guards flanked her mother, professional but firm. As they guided her toward the door, she hurled one final attack over her shoulder. You'll regret this. When he throws you away like the garbage you are, when you're alone and worthless and have no one, don't come crying to me. The words should have cut, should have made Lena doubt, made her question, made her want to run after her mother and apologize. Instead, Lena felt something like relief. The doors closed behind her mother's still screaming form, and the lobby fell silent. Lena stood in the center of the marble floor, her body shaking, her mind spinning. She'd just cut off her mother. Actually, truly, finally done it. Lena. Adrian's hands cupped her face, tilting it up to meet his eyes. Breathe. I can't. She said, did I just... You were magnificent. Adrian's eyes shone with fierce pride. You stood up to her. You told her the truth. You chose yourself. She's going to keep coming. No, she won't. Adrian's voice went soft but certain. I'm going to make sure of it. Lena's eyes widened. What does that mean? It means I have resources your mother can't imagine. It means if she tries to contact you again, if she shows up anywhere near you, if she so much as speaks your name in public. His expression turned dangerous. She'll discover exactly what happens when someone threatens something I protect. The words should have frightened her. The casual display of power, the implied threat, the reminder that Adrian Volkov operated in worlds where problems could be made to disappear. Instead, Lena felt safe. Is that legal? She asked weakly. Adrian's mouth curved. Everything I plan to do is perfectly legal. Uncomfortable for your mother, perhaps, but legal. Adrian, she brought a violent man to your home, Lena. His voice turned serious. She was planning to use him to intimidate you. I'm not going to let that go unanswered. Lena's knees gave out. Adrian caught her easily, lifting her into his arms like she weighed nothing. I've got you, he murmured against her hair. I've always got you. The elevator ride back up passed in a blur. Lena clung to Adrian, her mind replaying the confrontation, her mother's final words echoing in her ears. When they reached the penthouse, Adrian carried her straight to the terrace and settled onto the lounge chair with Lena in his lap. The city glittered below them, indifferent to the small human dramas playing out in its towers. "She said I'd regret it," Lena whispered. "You won't." "You don't know that." "I do." Adrian's arms tightened around her. "Because I'm going to make sure you never have a reason to regret choosing yourself over her." Lena pulled back to look at him. "That's a big promise." "I don't make promises I can't keep." Adrian's hand stroked through her hair. "You're free of her now, Lena. Truly free. And I'm going to spend every day making sure you understand what that freedom means." "What does it mean?" "It means you get to decide who you are." Adrian's eyes held hers, intense and unwavering. "Not who your mother told you to be. Not who you think you should be to earn love or approval. Just who you actually are, underneath all the fear and doubt." "I don't know who that is." "Then we'll find out together." Adrian's smile turned gentle. "One day at a time. No pressure, no expectations. Just you, being whoever you want to be." Lena felt something crack open in her chest, something that had been locked tight for so long she'd forgotten it existed. "What if I'm boring? What if without all the drama and chaos, I'm just ordinary?" "Then you'll be the most extraordinary, ordinary person I've ever met." Adrian's thumb traced her lower lip. "But I don't think that's going to happen." "Why not?" "Because I've watched you, remember? I've seen who you are when you think no one's looking." His eyes softened. "You're not ordinary, Lena. You're just used to making yourself small so other people feel big." The truth in his words made her throat tight. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "That I'll wake up and this will all be a dream. That you'll realize I'm not worth all this trouble. That I'll mess this up somehow and lose the first good thing that's happened to me in years." "Not possible." Adrian's forehead pressed against hers. "You want to know why?" "Why?" "Because I've been obsessed with you for 7 months, and it's only gotten worse." His voice dropped to something rough and honest. "Every day I learn something new about you. Every conversation makes me want the next one more. Every smile, every laugh, every moment of watching you discover that you're allowed to want things." He broke off, his control slipping. "You're not going to lose me, Lena. I'm the one who should be terrified you'll realize you can do better. Better than a billionaire with unlimited resources and cheekbones that could cut glass." Lena's attempt at humor came out watery. Adrian's laugh was soft. "Better than a man who's been lying to you for months, who watched you without permission, who made decisions about your life without asking. You were protecting me. I was being selfish." Adrian's eyes met hers, unflinching. "I told myself it was protection, but really, I just couldn't stand the thought of anything happening to you. Couldn't stand not knowing where you were, if you were safe, if someone was hurting you." "That's not selfish, that's—" Lena searched for the word. "That's caring." "It's obsession." "Maybe I like being obsessed over." The words came out before Lena could stop them. "Maybe after spending my whole life being invisible, it feels good to be seen." Adrian's expression turned molten. "You're definitely seen." "Yeah?" Lena's heart raced. "What do you see?" "Everything." His hand cupped her face. "Every time you bite your lip when you're thinking. Every time you tuck your hair behind your ear when you're nervous. The way you hum when you're happy. The way you go quiet when you're overwhelmed." His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. "I see the woman who stays late to help people even when she's exhausted. Who brings coffee to the mailroom staff because she knows they're underappreciated. Who remembers everyone's birthday and leaves anonymous cards on their desks. You knew about that?" "I know everything about you." Adrian's voice turned fierce. "And none of it is ordinary. None of it is boring. All of it is completely, devastatingly perfect." Lena's breath caught. They were so close, his face inches from hers, his eyes dark with an intensity that made her pulse race. "Adrian," she whispered, "tell me to stop." His thumb traced her lower lip. "Tell me this is too fast, too much, too complicated. Tell me to slow down." "What if I don't want you to slow down?" The words hung between them, charged with possibility. Adrian's eyes searched hers. "Lena." "I'm tired of being careful," she said, the admission spilling out. "I'm tired of holding back and second-guessing and being afraid. You've shown me what it feels like to be wanted, to be protected, to matter to someone. Her hands fisted in his shirt. I don't want to slow down. I want more. You don't know what you're asking. Adrian's voice went rough. I've been holding back for months. If I stop, then stop. Lena pulled him closer. Stop holding back. Show me what happens when Adrian Volkov stops pretending. For a moment, Adrian remained perfectly still. Then something in him snapped. His mouth crashed against hers and Lena's world exploded into sensation. The kiss was fierce, consuming, months of restrained hunger finally unleashed. Adrian's hands tangled in her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss, and Lena melted into him with a sound that was half gasp, half moan. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian's eyes burned like molten silver. No going back, he said, his voice barely recognizable. If we do this, if we cross this line, I'm not letting you go. Ever. Promise? The word came out breathless. Adrian's smile was pure possession. Promise. The kiss changed everything and nothing. At the office, they maintained their careful charade. Professional distance, formal titles, nothing that would raise eyebrows among the executive staff who loved nothing more than gossip. But the air between them crackled with new tension, and Lena caught herself watching Adrian's hands during meetings, remembering how they'd felt tangled in her hair. Miss Hart, Adrian's voice cut through her thoughts during a morning briefing. The Morrison contract? Lena's cheeks flushed as she fumbled for the file. 3 executives sat around the conference table, all watching her with varying degrees of curiosity. She'd been so lost in her own head she'd completely missed his question. Right here, Mr. Volkov. She passed him the folder, their fingers brushing. The contact sent electricity up her arm. Adrian's eyes met hers for a fraction of a second, long enough for her to see the heat there, quickly banked. Thank you. The meeting continued, but Lena felt his awareness of her like a physical touch. Every shift in his posture, every glance in her direction, reminded her of the night before, of his mouth on hers, his hands mapping her body, the way he'd whispered her name like a prayer. When the executives finally filed out, Adrian waited until the door closed before speaking. You're distracted. I'm fine. You're thinking about last night. Adrian's voice dropped to that intimate register that made her pulse race. About what we did on the terrace, what we did in my bed afterward. Adrian. Lena's eyes darted to the glass walls of the conference room. Someone could hear, the room is soundproof. He crossed to where she stood gathering files. And I don't care if they do hear. Let them know you're mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have bothered her. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in her stomach. You're playing with fire, Lena warned. I've been playing with fire since the moment I saw you. Adrian's hand caught her wrist, his thumb pressing against her racing pulse. The difference is now I'm not pretending I'm not already burning. Before Lena could respond, his phone buzzed. Adrian glanced at it, and his expression went cold. What is it? Marcus. Adrian's jaw tightened. There's a situation at your old building. Lena's stomach dropped. My mother. Her husband. Adrian's voice turned lethal. He showed up at your apartment this morning, tried to break down the door. Horror flooded through her. Is anyone hurt? No. The building superintendent called the police. Raymond Mitchell is currently being arrested for attempted breaking and entering. Adrian's eyes met hers. But this confirms what I suspected. Your mother sent him. To do what? Probably to intimidate you. Maybe worse. Adrian pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her protectively. I'm ending this today. How? By making sure your mother understands that coming after you has consequences. Adrian's hand stroked down her spine. Trust me? Lena looked up at him, seeing the cold calculation in his eyes that reminded her he wasn't just a billionaire CEO. He was someone with connections in places most people never thought about. Someone who'd built an empire through ruthlessness when necessary. What are you going to do? Nothing illegal. Adrian's smile was sharp. But your mother's new husband has warrants in 2 states. Tax evasion, fraud, failure to pay child support. I'm simply going to make sure the right authorities know where to find him. And my mother? She'll have a choice. Leave you alone completely, or watch her husband get extradited to face charges. Adrian's voice went hard. I'm betting she chooses self-preservation. It should have scared her, this casual display of power, the way Adrian could manipulate legal systems and destroy lives with a few phone calls. But all Lena felt was relief. "Do it," she said. Adrian's eyes searched hers. "You're sure?" "She sent a violent man to my home, Adrian. She was willing to put me in danger to get what she wanted." Lena's hands fisted in his shirt. "I'm sure." "Then it's done." Adrian pressed a kiss to her forehead. "By tonight, she'll know exactly what happens when someone threatens you." The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and phone calls. Lena watched Adrian work with new eyes, seeing the strategic mind beneath the attractive exterior. He was brilliant, ruthless when necessary, and completely in control. And he looked at her between meetings like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Miss Hart, Adrian's assistant, a sharp woman named Jennifer, who'd worked for him for 8 years, appeared at Lena's desk around 3. "Mr. Volkov asked me to give you this." She handed Lena a small box wrapped in silver paper. "What is it?" Jennifer's smile was knowing. "He didn't say, but he was very specific that you open it privately." Lena waited until Jennifer disappeared back to her own desk before unwrapping the box. Inside, nestled in black velvet, was a phone. Top of the line, clearly expensive, already powered on. A note lay underneath it. "Your mother has your old number. This one is just for us. Already programmed with everything you need. The only contacts are me, Marcus, and Jennifer for emergencies. No one else gets this number unless you want them to have it. You're in control now." Lena's throat tightened. Such a simple thing, a new phone number, but it meant freedom. It meant her mother couldn't call whenever she wanted, couldn't demand Lena's attention, couldn't interrupt her life with guilt and manipulation. She picked up her old phone and stared at it. 43 missed calls since yesterday. All from her mother, all ignored. Lena powered it off and dropped it in her desk drawer. When she left work that evening, Adrian was waiting by the private elevator. "Did you get my gift?" Lena pulled out the new phone. "It's too much." "It's necessary." Adrian's hand found her lower back as they stepped into the elevator. "Did you like it?" "I love it." Lena looked up at him. "Thank you." "You don't have to thank me for giving you things you should have always had." Adrian's thumb traced circles on her spine. "Freedom, privacy, control over your own life." The elevator doors opened onto the penthouse, and Lena's breath caught. The terrace had been transformed. String lights hung overhead, casting warm golden light across the space. A table was set for 2, covered with dishes that smelled incredible. Candles flickered in glass hurricanes, and soft music played from hidden speakers. "Adrian," Lena's voice came out as a whisper. "What is this?" "Dinner." He guided her outside, his hand never leaving her back. "I wanted to do something nice for you." "You do nice things for me every day." "Then consider this extra nice." Adrian pulled out her chair, waiting until she sat before taking his own seat across from her. "I spoke with the authorities about your mother's husband this afternoon." Lena's appetite vanished. "And?" "He's being held without bail. The charges are more serious than I initially thought. He's been running from multiple jurisdictions for 3 years. Tax fraud alone carries 5 to 7 years. Adrian's expression remained neutral. "Your mother was contacted this evening. She was given a choice." "What choice?" "She can stay in New York and visit her husband in prison for the next half-decade. Or she can disappear from your life completely, and I'll arrange for his bail and legal defense." Lena stared at him. "You'd actually help him? After what he tried to do?" "I'd do anything to keep you safe." Adrian's eyes met hers, unflinching. "Including helping a man I'd prefer to see rot in prison. If that's what it takes to get your mother to leave you alone, I'll do it." "What did she say?" "She agreed." Adrian reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "As of 6 o'clock this evening, your mother signed a legally binding agreement. She will have no contact with you, direct or indirect, for a minimum of 5 years. If she violates the agreement, all support for her husband disappears, and the full weight of the charges comes down on him." Lena felt tears spilling down her cheeks. She chose him over me. She chose herself, like she always does. Adrian's thumb brushed away her tears. "But it doesn't matter anymore. You're free of her." "Just like that?" "Just like that." Adrian stood and moved around the table, pulling Lena up and into his arms. She can't call you, can't show up at your work, can't manipulate or guilt or hurt you. His hands framed her face. You're done being her victim. Lena sobbed against his chest, years of pain and frustration pouring out. Adrian held her through it, his hands steady and sure, his voice murmuring reassurances. When the tears finally subsided, Lena pulled back to look at him. I should probably feel bad about this, about using your money and power to make her go away. But you don't. No. The admission felt like freedom. I feel relieved. Good. Adrian's smile was fierce. Because you deserve to feel relieved. You deserve to wake up without dread, to answer your phone without anxiety, to exist without someone constantly telling you you're not enough. I don't know who I am without her voice in my head, Lena whispered. Then we'll find out together. Adrian pressed a kiss to her forehead. Starting right now. Sit down. Eat. Tell me what you want from your life when you're not spending all your energy trying to survive. They ate dinner as the sun set over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Adrian asked her questions, real questions about dreams and hopes and things she'd never let herself want. What books made her cry? What places did she want to visit? If money wasn't an issue, what would she do with her time? Lena answered hesitantly at first, unused to anyone caring about her preferences. But Adrian listened like every word mattered, asked follow-up questions, made her feel like her smallest dreams were worth pursuing. I've always wanted to go to culinary school, Lena admitted over dessert. Not to be a chef, necessarily, just to know how to cook properly, to understand food beyond instant noodles and gas station salads. Then do it. Adrian said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. I can't afford... I can. He held up a hand when she started to protest. Before you say no, think about what I'm offering. Not charity, not control, just the chance to pursue something you want for yourself. Adrian, what scares you about saying yes? His eyes searched hers. Is it accepting help? Admitting you want something? Being grateful? All of it. Lena's hands twisted together. My mother always used gifts as leverage. Everything came with strings attached. I'm not your mother. Adrian's voice went soft. When I give you something, it's because I want you to have it. Not because I expect something in return. That's not how the world works. It's how our world works. Adrian reached across the table, his hand covering both of hers. You want to know what I expect from you, Lena? The truth? Yes. I expect you to be happy, to smile when something makes you happy, to pursue things that interest you, to exist in this space without fear or obligation. His thumb traced across her knuckles. That's it. That's all I want. That can't be all? You're right. Adrian's expression turned intense. I also want you to let me take care of you, to accept that you deserve good things, to stop apologizing for existing. His voice roughened. And I want you in my bed every night for the rest of my life. Lena's breath caught. Adrian, too much? He didn't look away. Too honest? Maybe. Lena's heart raced. But I think I like it. You think? I know. The admission felt like jumping off a cliff. I like it when you're possessive, when you make decisions to protect me, when you look at me like you're doing right now. And how am I looking at you? Like you want to devour me. Lena's cheeks flushed, but she held his gaze. Like I'm the only thing in the world worth having. Adrian's smile turned predatory. That's because you are. He stood and pulled her to her feet, his hands sliding to her waist. The city glittered below them, millions of lights in the darkness, but Lena only saw him. I'm going to kiss you now, Adrian said, his voice low and rough. And then I'm going to take you upstairs. And I'm going to spend the rest of the night showing you exactly how much I want you. Just want? Lena's hand slid up his chest. Want, need, crave. Adrian's forehead pressed against hers. Choose a word. They all mean the same thing when it comes to you. His mouth captured hers, and Lena melted into the kiss. It started gentle but quickly turned desperate. Months of restrained hunger finally unleashed. Adrian's hands mapped her body like he was memorizing every curve, and Lena gasped against his lips. Upstairs, she managed between kisses. Please. Adrian swept her into his arms, carrying her through the penthouse like she weighed nothing. Lena buried her face in his neck, breathing in his scent, feeling safe and desired and precious. His bedroom was on the third floor. She'd never been inside before. It was massive, all dark wood and expensive fabrics, with windows that wrapped around two walls offering views of the city. But Lena barely noticed the room. All she saw was Adrian, setting her down gently on the enormous bed, his eyes dark with promise. "Last chance," he said, his voice rough. "Tell me to stop, and I will." "Don't stop." Lena reached for him. "Don't ever stop." What followed was a blur of sensation and emotion. Adrian touched her like she was something precious and breakable, but kissed her like he was afraid she'd disappear. Lena felt worshipped and claimed in equal measure, and when they finally came together, she understood what he'd meant about not letting go. This wasn't just physical. This was a claiming on both sides. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the massive bed, Lena's head on Adrian's chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. "I love you," Adrian said into the darkness. Lena's breath caught. "What?" "I love you." He said it again, simple and certain. "I've loved you since that cafe. Since I watched you smile at a book and knew I'd never be the same." "Adrian, you can't. That's not—" "I can. It is." His hand tilted her face up to meet his eyes. "I know it's fast. I know it's intense. I know every logical part of your brain is telling you this is impossible." His thumb brushed across her lips. "But I've never been more certain of anything in my life." Lena stared at him, seeing the raw honesty in his expression. "I don't know if I know how to love someone. Your mother taught you that love means obligation and guilt and sacrifice." Adrian's voice went fierce. "But that's not love, that's control. Real love is wanting someone to be happy, even if their happiness doesn't benefit you." "Is that what you want? For me to be happy?" "More than I want my next breath." Adrian pulled her closer. "And if making you happy means giving you space, or slowing down, or letting you figure things out at your own pace, I'll do it, even if it kills me." Lena's eyes burned. "What if I don't want space?" "Then you don't get space." Adrian's smile was soft. "You get me, all of me, for as long as you'll have me." "That's a long time." "Not long enough." His lips brushed her forehead. "I could have 1,000 years with you, and it wouldn't be enough." Lena felt something crack open in her chest, something that had been locked tight for so long she'd forgotten it was there. "I think I might love you too." Adrian went completely still. "You think?" "I don't have anything to compare it to." Lena's hand pressed over his heart, feeling it race beneath her palm. "But when I'm with you, I feel safe, seen, like I matter. And when I imagine my life without you—" Her voice broke. "It feels impossible, like trying to imagine breathing without air." That's love," Adrian whispered. "That's exactly what love feels like." They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped around each other, the city lights casting shadows across the ceiling. Lena felt herself drifting, safe and warm and more content than she'd ever been in her life. "Adrian?" she murmured, half asleep. "Hmm?" "Thank you for finding me, for seeing me when I was invisible." Adrian's arms tightened around her. "You were never invisible to me. From the very first moment, you were all I could see." The next morning, Lena woke to find Adrian already awake, watching her with an expression so tender it made her chest ache. "How long have you been staring at me?" she asked, her voice rough with sleep. "Not long enough." Adrian's hand stroked through her hair. "I could watch you sleep for hours and never get bored. That's creepy." "I prefer devoted." His smile was soft. "How are you feeling?" Lena took inventory. Her body ached in unfamiliar places. Her heart felt too big for her chest, and she was lying naked in a billionaire's bed with absolutely no regrets. "Good," she said. "Really good." "Just good?" Adrian's hand slid down her spine, pulling her closer. "I must be losing my touch." "Maybe you need more practice." The words came out bolder than Lena felt, but Adrian's answering smile made the risk worth it. "I like the way you think." He was leaning in to kiss her when his phone buzzed insistently on the nightstand. Adrian grabbed it with a growl, glanced at the screen, and his expression went cold. "What is it?" Lena asked, sitting up. "Marcus, there's been an incident." Adrian was already moving, pulling on clothes with swift efficiency. "Your mother's husband made bail 2 hours ago." "What? How? You said—" "Someone else posted it, not me." Adrian's jaw tightened. "And he's violated the protection order. He's on his way here." Fear lanced through Lena. "He's coming here?" "He made it past the first security checkpoint by claiming to be a delivery driver. Marcus caught him on the cameras." Adrian was already making calls, rapid-fire instructions to security teams Lena hadn't known existed. "He's in the building." "How did he even know I was here?" "Your mother." Adrian's voice turned lethal. "She sent him, despite the agreement, despite the consequences." He looked at Lena, his eyes fierce. "Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me or Marcus." "Adrian, what are you—" "I'm ending this." Adrian pressed a hard kiss to her mouth. "Once and for all." He was gone before Lena could protest, the bedroom door clicking shut behind him. Lena's hands shook as she pulled on Adrian's shirt, the first thing she could find. It hung to her thighs, smelling like him, offering comfort even as fear clawed at her throat. Raymond Mitchell was in the building, a violent man with a history of hurting women, and he was coming for her. She should call the police, should hide in the bathroom, should do any number of sensible things. Instead, Lena found herself moving toward the door. She pressed her ear against it, listening. Voices carried from somewhere below, Adrian's, cold and controlled, and another man's, rough and angry. "Where is she?" The stranger's voice. "Raymond. Not your concern." Adrian's tone could have cut steel. "Her mother sent me to bring her home. She doesn't have a home with you. She doesn't have anything to do with you." A pause. "You have 3 seconds to leave this building before I have you arrested." "You think you scare me? You think your money means anything?" Raymond's laugh was ugly. "I've dealt with men tougher than you." The sound of a scuffle. Something hitting the wall. Lena's heart stopped. She yanked open the door and ran for the stairs. The scene below froze her in place. Adrian had Raymond pinned against the wall of the penthouse foyer, one hand wrapped around the man's throat. Raymond was bigger, heavier, but Adrian held him with casual strength that spoke of training Lena had never suspected. "Adrian, don't!" Lena's voice cracked across the space. Both men's heads turned. Raymond's eyes went to Lena, and something vicious flickered in them. "There she is, looking like a whore and nothing but—" Adrian's fist connected with Raymond's jaw with a crack that echoed through the foyer. The man dropped like a stone. "Adrian!" Lena rushed down the stairs, her bare feet silent on the marble. "You can't— The police are already on their way." Marcus appeared from the elevator, flanked by 3 security guards. "I called them the moment he entered the building." Adrian stood over Raymond's prone form, breathing hard, his knuckles bleeding. When his eyes met Lena's, they were wild with barely contained violence. "He looked at you." Adrian's voice was rough. "He called you—" "I know." Lena reached for him, her hands cupping his face. "I know, but I'm okay. You protected me. I want to kill him." The admission came out raw. "For threatening you, for coming here, for existing in the same world as you." "But you won't." Lena's thumbs brushed across his cheekbones. "Because I need you here with me, not in prison for murder." Adrian's laugh was brittle. "You're the only thing keeping me from crossing that line." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Raymond groaned on the floor, clutching his jaw. The police arrived within minutes, and Marcus handled most of the explanations. Breaking and entering, violation of a protection order, assault. The officers took photos of Adrian's bleeding knuckles and Lena's terrified expression, documented everything with professional efficiency. Raymond Mitchell was handcuffed and hauled away, still cursing. When the penthouse finally fell silent again, Lena found herself shaking. Adrian wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and pulled her against his chest. "It's over. He's going to prison for a long time. My mother sent him." Lena's voice came out small. "She actually sent him here to hurt me." "I know." Adrian's arms tightened. And she's going to pay for it. How? I'm filing charges. Conspiracy, harassment, reckless endangerment, every charge my lawyers can make stick. Adrian's voice turned cold. She wanted to use violence to control you. She's going to learn that has consequences. Lena should have felt guilty, should have protested, should have said something about family and forgiveness. Instead, she felt nothing but relief. Is that wrong? She whispered. That I want her to suffer? No. Adrian's hand stroked through her hair. It's human. She hurt you, tried to have you hurt worse. Wanting justice for that isn't wrong. It feels like hate. Maybe it is hate. Adrian tilted her face up to meet his eyes. And maybe that's okay. Maybe you're allowed to hate someone who spent your entire life making you hate yourself. The permission in his words made something break loose in Lena's chest. She sobbed against Adrian's shoulder, and he held her through it, steady and sure. I've got you, he murmured. I'll always have you. And standing in the wreckage of the morning, wrapped in Adrian's arms while sirens faded in the distance, Lena finally believed him. The legal proceedings moved faster than Lena had thought possible. Adrian's lawyers, an entire firm of them, apparently, filed charges against her mother within 48 hours. Conspiracy to commit assault, criminal harassment, violation of the protection order. Each charge carried weight, and together they painted a picture of a woman who'd crossed every line. Lena sat in the lawyer's office 3 days after Raymond's arrest, listening to a woman named Sarah Chen explain what would happen next. Your mother has 2 choices, Sarah said, her voice crisp and professional. She can fight these charges in court, which will be expensive and public, and will almost certainly result in conviction, or she can accept a plea deal. What kind of deal? Lena asked. 5 years probation, mandatory counseling, a permanent restraining order preventing any contact with you, and she leaves New York. Sarah's eyes met Lena's. Permanently. Adrian's hand found Lena's under the table, his fingers lacing through hers. What does she get in return? We drop the conspiracy charge. The others remain on her record, but she avoids jail time. Sarah leaned forward. It's more than generous considering what she did. What if she refuses? Lena's voice came out smaller than she intended. Then we go to trial, and I promise you, Miss Hart, we will win. Sarah's smile was sharp. Your mother's husband is already cooperating. He's given a statement about her role in planning the break-in. Combined with the phone records, the violated protection order, and the witness testimony, she shrugged. It's not even a question. Lena looked at Adrian. What do you think? I think, Adrian said carefully, that this is your decision, not mine. But what would you do? Adrian's jaw tightened. I'd make her suffer. I'd drag her through every court in the state and make sure she understood exactly what happens when someone threatens you. His thumb traced circles on her palm. But I'm not objective when it comes to you. Lena turned back to Sarah. If she takes the deal, I never have to see her again? Never. The restraining order is permanent. If she violates it, she goes directly to prison. Sarah's expression softened slightly. You'd be free of her, Miss Hart. Completely. The word hung in the air between them. Free. I want her to take the deal, Lena said. I want this over. Sarah nodded. I'll present it to her attorney this afternoon. They left the law office hand in hand, Adrian's driver waiting at the curb. Inside the car, Lena let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. You did the right thing, Adrian said. Did I? Part of me wants her to hurt the way she hurt me. I know. Adrian pulled her against his side. But you're choosing freedom over revenge. That takes more strength than making her suffer. It doesn't feel strong. It feels like I'm letting her off easy. She's losing her daughter, her home, and any illusion that she can control you. Adrian's voice went hard. That's not easy. That's everything she was afraid of. Lena rested her head on his shoulder, watching Manhattan blur past the tinted windows. What happens now? Now? Adrian's hand stroked through her hair. Now you figure out who you want to be when you're not fighting to survive. The question haunted Lena over the following weeks. Her mother accepted the plea deal, of course she did, faced with the alternative of public trial and prison. Within a week, she'd left New York. The lawyers handled everything, and Lena never had to see her again. The relief was overwhelming and terrifying in equal measure. Without her mother's constant demands, without the fear and obligation that had colored every decision for years, Lena felt untethered, like a boat cut loose from its mooring, drifting in open water. "You're overthinking again," Adrian observed one evening. They sat in his home office, a room Lena had started using for her own projects. She'd spread out on the leather sofa with her laptop and a stack of culinary school brochures while Adrian worked at his desk. "I'm not overthinking. I'm considering my options." "You've been staring at the same page for 20 minutes. Adrian closed his laptop and crossed to the sofa. "Talk to me." Lena gestured at the brochures. "What if I'm not good enough? What if I get to culinary school and everyone else is talented and passionate and I'm just what?" Adrian sat beside her, pulling her feet into his lap. His hands began massaging her arches, and Lena melted. "Just someone who thought it sounded nice. Someone who doesn't actually have what it takes." "Or," Adrian said, his hands working magic on her sore feet, "you're someone who's never been allowed to pursue her own interests before. Someone who's so used to being told she's not good enough that she's internalized it." "Maybe. Definitely." Adrian's eyes met hers. "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think you're terrified of wanting something for yourself. Because every time you wanted something as a kid, your mother either took it away or used it against you." The truth of his words hit like a physical blow. "That's not—" "It is." Adrian's voice gentled. "But she's gone now, Lena. She can't take this from you. She can't use it as leverage. You're allowed to want things just because they make you happy." "What if I fail?" "Then you fail." Adrian shrugged. "And then you try something else. That's how life works when you're not constantly being punished for being human." Lena stared at the brochures, fear and hope warring in her chest. "I've already missed the fall enrollment deadline." "So you apply for spring, or you take some weekend classes first to see if you like it." Adrian's hands moved to her calves, kneading out tension she hadn't known she carried. "Stop trying to have everything figured out immediately. You've had 3 weeks of freedom. Give yourself time." "Well, 3 weeks and 4 days, Lena corrected, "since the plea deal was finalized." "You're counting." "Of course I'm counting." Lena's voice dropped to something vulnerable. "Every day that she doesn't call, doesn't show up, doesn't hurt me, it feels like a gift." Adrian pulled her into his lap, wrapping his arms around her. "It's not a gift. It's your right. You deserve to exist without fear." "I'm still waiting for it to feel real." "Give it time." His lips pressed against her temple. "One day you'll wake up and realize you haven't thought about her in days, and then weeks, and eventually she'll just be someone you used to know. Promise?" "Promise." Adrian's hand tilted her face up to meet his eyes. "I've watched you transform over the past month, Lena. You smile more. You laugh. You express opinions without apologizing. You're becoming who you were always supposed to be." "And who's that?" "Someone extraordinary." Adrian's smile was soft. "Someone strong and kind and brave. Someone who fights for what matters." "I don't feel brave." "Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it." His thumb brushed across her lower lip. "And you've been doing that every single day." Lena kissed him then, pouring months of gratitude and need and something deeper into the contact. Adrian responded immediately, his hands tangling in her hair, his mouth claiming hers with familiar hunger. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian's eyes had gone dark. "I want to show you something," he said. "Now?" "Right now." Adrian stood, pulling her to her feet. "Come with me." He led her through the penthouse to a door Lena had never noticed, tucked behind a bookshelf in the library, nearly invisible if you didn't know to look for it. "What is this?" Lena asked as Adrian pressed his palm to a biometric scanner. "Something I had built while you were at work last week." The door clicked open, revealing a staircase that led up. "After you." Lena climbed the stairs, her heart racing with curiosity. They emerged onto the rooftop, a space she hadn't known existed. And there, on the roof of one of Manhattan's tallest buildings, Adrian had created a garden. Planter boxes overflowed with herbs and vegetables. A small greenhouse stood in one corner, its glass walls reflecting the city lights. Comfortable seating areas were scattered throughout, and string lights crisscrossed overhead, creating a canopy of stars. "Adrian." Lena's voice came out as a whisper. What is this? Your space. Adrian's hand settled on her shoulders. I know you've been researching culinary school. I thought you might want somewhere to practice, to experiment, to grow your own ingredients. Lena turned in his arms, tears streaming down her face. You built me a garden. I built you a place to discover who you are. Adrian's thumbs brushed away her tears. No pressure, no expectations, just space to try things and fail and try again. I don't know what to say. Say you'll use it. Say you'll let yourself want this. Adrian's eyes searched hers. Say you'll stop punishing yourself for having dreams. Lena looked around the rooftop garden, seeing months of planning and work, seeing Adrian's devotion made tangible. How long have you been working on this? Since the day you moved in. Adrian's smile was sheepish. I might have gotten a little obsessed with the project. A little? Fine. Very obsessed. His arms wrapped around her waist. I wanted to give you something that was just yours. Something your mother couldn't touch or ruin or take away. Lena buried her face in his chest, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the gift. I love you. The words came out naturally, easily, for the first time without hesitation. Adrian went completely still. Say that again. I love you. Lena looked up at him, seeing her emotions reflected in his eyes. I love you for seeing me when I was invisible, for fighting for me when I couldn't fight for myself, for building me a garden when you could have just bought me jewelry or cars or any of the things normal billionaires give their... She paused. What are we exactly? Everything. Adrian's voice went rough. You're everything to me. That's not actually an answer. Then how about this? Adrian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lena's breath stopped. Adrian, let me finish. He opened the box, revealing a simple diamond ring, elegant and understated, nothing like the ostentatious pieces she'd seen other wealthy men give their girlfriends. I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. Then what? I'm asking you to choose yourself, to choose a future where you're valued and protected and loved. Adrian's eyes held hers, intense and unwavering. I'm asking you to believe that you deserve all of this. The garden, the freedom, the safety, me, everything. And the ring is a promise. Adrian pulled it from the box, holding it up to catch the light. A promise that you'll never again be made to feel small, unwanted, or invisible. A promise that someone sees you, values you, fights for you. His voice roughened. A promise that you're mine and I'm yours, for as long as you'll have me. Lena stared at the ring, her mind spinning. This is insane. Probably. Adrian's smile was soft. But everything about us has been insane from the beginning. Why stop now? What if I mess this up? What if I disappoint you? What if you don't? Adrian caught her hand, his thumb tracing across her ring finger. What if you let yourself be happy? What if you trust that I'm not going anywhere? His eyes burned into hers. What if you're worth exactly what I think you're worth? Lena felt tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm still figuring out who I am. Then figure it out while wearing my ring. Adrian's voice turned fierce. Figure it out while living in my home. Figure it out while I worship you every single night and remind you every single morning that you're extraordinary. You're very persuasive. Is it working? Lena looked at the ring, then at Adrian, then at the garden he'd built for her on a Manhattan rooftop. She thought about the woman she'd been 3 months ago, invisible, exhausted, convinced she was worthless. And she thought about who she was becoming, someone who laughed freely, pursued dreams, believed she deserved good things. Yes, she whispered. It's working. Adrian's smile could have lit the entire city. He slid the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. He'd probably had her sized without her knowing. So what does this make us? Lena asked, looking at the ring sparkling on her hand. Engaged to be engaged? It makes us partners. Adrian pulled her close. It makes us a team. It makes you someone who finally understands that you're not alone anymore. And when we actually get engaged, you'll know. Adrian's eyes danced. I'm saving the grand gesture for when you truly believe you deserve it. What if that takes years? Then I'll wait years? Adrian pressed a kiss to her forehead. I waited 7 months just to talk to you. I can wait forever for you to see yourself the way I see you. They stood on the rooftop garden as the city lights flickered below them, holding each other under a canopy of string lights and stars. Lena felt something settle in her chest, something that felt like peace, like home, like the beginning of a story she'd been too afraid to believe in. "Tell me something," she said into the comfortable silence. "Anything. That day in the cafe, when you first saw me, what were you thinking?" Adrian's arms tightened around her. "I was thinking that I'd just seen the most beautiful woman in the world smile at a book, and I'd never be the same." He pulled back to look at her. "I was thinking that I wanted to know what made you smile like that, wanted to be the reason for it. And now? Now I know that making you smile is the best thing I've ever done." Adrian's hand cupped her face. "Now I know that you're even more extraordinary than I imagined. Now I know that I was right to be obsessed with you." "Still obsessed?" "More than ever." His thumb brushed across her lips. "Every day I learn something new about you. Every conversation makes me want the next one more. You're not a fantasy anymore, Lena. You're real. And the reality is so much better than anything I imagined." Lena's throat tightened. "I'm still scared sometimes that I'll wake up and this will all be gone. Then I'll spend every morning reminding you it's real." Adrian's eyes held hers with fierce certainty. "I'll make you coffee and tell you I love you and show you in 1,000 small ways that this isn't temporary, that you're not temporary. Promise?" "I promise." Adrian sealed the words with a kiss that made Lena's knees weak. When they finally broke apart, he smiled. "Now, can I show you the greenhouse? I had them install a professional-grade kitchen setup inside." "You did what?" "Come see." Adrian took her hand, leading her toward the glass structure. Inside the greenhouse, Lena found a fully equipped cooking station, commercial stove, marble countertops, every tool and gadget she could imagine. Herb gardens lined the walls, and a small dining table sat in one corner. "This is too much," Lena breathed. "It's exactly enough." Adrian wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "I want you to practice here, to learn, to create things that make you happy." "I don't even know where to start." "Start anywhere." Adrian's voice was soft against her ear. "Start with something simple. Work your way up to complicated. Take classes. Make mistakes. Burn things." His arms tightened. "Just start." Lena turned in his arms, looking up at the man who'd changed her entire world. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. For fighting for me. For building me a garden when you could have just bought me a car." She smiled through tears. "For loving me when I didn't know how to love myself." "That's not something you thank someone for." Adrian's hand stroked through her hair. "That's just what you do when you love someone. Is it always like this? This intense?" "I don't know." Adrian's smile turned wry. "I've never loved anyone before." The admission made Lena's heart skip. "Never?" "Never." His eyes held hers, vulnerable and honest. "I've had relationships, transactions, arrangements. But love?" He shook his head. "You're the first person who's ever made me feel human instead of useful. I think you might be the most romantic man alive. Only for you." Adrian's mouth curved. "Everyone else gets the cold, calculating billionaire. You get the version that builds rooftop gardens and writes terrible poetry at 3 in the morning. You write poetry? Absolutely not." But his ears went red, and Lena laughed. "You do. Let me see." "Never." Adrian picked her up, making her squeal. "That's taking my secrets to the grave." "I'll find them eventually. I have access to your entire penthouse now." "Then I'll have to burn the evidence." Adrian's eyes danced. "Unless you want to make a trade." "What kind of trade?" "Show me something you've never shown anyone else." Adrian's expression turned serious. "Something real, something vulnerable." Lena's laughter faded. She thought about all the things she'd hidden over the years, dreams she'd been too afraid to speak aloud, desires she'd convinced herself were foolish, versions of herself she'd locked away to survive. "I want to help people," she said quietly. "When I imagine my future, my real future, the one I'm actually excited about, I don't just see myself cooking. I see myself teaching, feeding people who can't afford good food, creating spaces where invisible people feel seen. Adrian's expression softened. Like you were invisible. Exactly like I was invisible. Lena's hands twisted together. I keep thinking about all those years of instant noodles and skipped meals because I sent my mother money. And I think about how many other people are doing the same thing, sacrificing themselves because someone convinced them they're not worth feeding. So, feed them. Adrian said it like it was simple. Create the program, start the foundation, do whatever you're imagining. I can't just, why not? Adrian's hands framed her face. You have resources now. You have connections. You have someone who will support every wild dream you want to chase. His eyes burned into hers. So chase them. It would cost a fortune. I have a fortune. Several, actually. Adrian's smile was soft. Let me use it for something that matters. You'd really do that? Fund a program to feed struggling people? I'd do anything that puts that light in your eyes. Adrian's thumb brushed across her cheekbone. And honestly, a foundation that helps people who've been made invisible by others? That's exactly the kind of legacy I want to build with you. Lena felt her heart expand until it was almost painful. With me? With you. Adrian's voice went fierce. Everything I do from now on is with you. Building businesses, creating foundations, waking up, going to sleep, all of it with you. That's a long time to be stuck with me. Not long enough. Adrian's forehead pressed against hers. I could have eternity with you and still want more. They stayed in the greenhouse as the night deepened around them, planning futures and foundations and all the ways they'd help people who needed to be seen. Lena talked until her voice went hoarse, ideas pouring out of her like water from a broken dam. And Adrian listened like every word was precious, taking notes on his phone, asking questions that made her think deeper. When they finally went back inside, Lena felt lighter than she had in years. The following months blurred together in the best possible way. Lena enrolled in weekend culinary classes and discovered she had a natural talent for combining flavors. She started small, cooking for Adrian, for Marcus, for the building staff. Then larger, hosting dinners for friends she was slowly making, people who liked her for who she was, rather than what she could give them. Adrian announced the creation of the Heart Foundation, named after Lena, though she protested, dedicated to providing culinary education and healthy meals to people struggling financially. The initial funding came from Adrian, but donations poured in from others once word spread. Lena found herself on boards and committees, using skills she'd developed as an assistant to organize programs and coordinate volunteers. She still worked for Adrian, insisted on it, actually, because she liked the structure and challenge. But now it felt like partnership rather than obligation. Her mother never contacted her again. The lawyers sent periodic updates. She'd moved to Arizona, remarried again, was living a life that had nothing to do with Lena. And slowly, painfully, wonderfully, Lena began to heal. 6 months after that night on the rooftop, Adrian took Lena back to the cafe where he'd first seen her. "Why are we here?" Lena asked as they sat at a small table by the window. "Because this is where it started." Adrian's hand covered hers on the table. "And I wanted to show you something." He pulled out his phone and opened a photo. It showed Lena in this exact cafe, absorbed in a book, a small smile playing at her lips. "You took a picture of me?" Lena's eyes widened. "I told myself it was creepy, that I should delete it immediately." Adrian's smile was sheepish. "Instead, I looked at it every single day for 7 months, trying to figure out how to approach you, what to say, how to make you see what I saw." "And what did you see?" "Someone beautiful and kind who deserved so much more than the world was giving her." Adrian's eyes held hers. "Someone worth fighting for, worth waiting for, worth building an entire life around." Lena felt tears prickling. "I was just reading a book. You were existing in a moment of pure joy, completely yourself, unguarded and real." Adrian's thumb traced across her knuckles. "I saw that and knew I'd spend the rest of my life trying to give you more moments like that." "You have." Lena's voice came out thick with emotion. "Every single day, you've given me reasons to smile." Adrian stood,